Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Serious Football Heads podcast, episode number 16, talking about weeks 7 and 8. And as always, on my right, I have Tom.
Hey, long-time caller, first-time listener.
So, what a week in football for our two teams, huh?
It's been just astounding as far as my Chargers go. I've been watching this team a long time, and I've seen some disappointing, awful seasons, but this one has taken the cake right here for all the excitement and anticipation that we had coming in to watch them just disintegrate, player by player. Um, it's been, I think, 8 weeks in a row now we have put somebody on IR. And last week it was Forrest Lamp for a broken leg. Matter of fact, I tried to call Sirius Radio the other day and mention the Chargers, and I got put on IR. So I don't know what the hell is going on. So we're down to our last 6 offensive linemen. We get Russell Okung back this week. Okay. I don't know how much help that's going to be. We're playing the hapless Chicago Bears, who are pretty much in the same boat we are. And it's an amazing week just across the board. There are, I think, 5 different teams or games this week that have a 2-score handicap in them. Some significant advantages and disadvantages for different teams, and we'll get into that in a minute, I'm sure.
Yeah, we will.
And then there's the Seattle Seahawks, who at home can't seem to handle the running of Lamar Jackson.
Well, I watched that game, and the whole team just, in my opinion, just I won't say give up, but just laid down after Russell threw his pick 6. It was not even after that. It was not even. We weren't even considering the game at that point.
Wow.
The first, or was it the first or second quarter? No call on the pass interference on DK Metcalf. I can understand them not calling it because it didn't look like it was going to be catchable. But at the same time, the guy was draped all over him. So I'm like, so when Pete challenged it, I was like, oh, that might be one he could get. They were reviewing it so quick that they announced it during the timeout, the TV timeout.
Wow. That there's so much controversy right now over that. Not the rule. I don't think the controversy is over the rule. I think the controversy is over how they're executing the rule. And when you have a situation where you've got, like this one, where the guy's absolutely draped all over the receiver, when they're watching that replay, they have to, in their head, they have to say, what's the definition of pass interference?
Yep.
Does he interfere with the receiver's ability to catch the ball? Is he having contact before the ball arrives, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? And if you meet the criteria by looking at it, then yeah, you have to throw the flag. It's as simple as that. And they're just not doing it.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, I don't generally have too much of an issue with them making calls or not calls, depending on whether it's, flagrant. Like, we can all sit here and agree that the no call in the NFC Championship game last year was blatant. It was a blatant pass interference. But most of the time you see it, it's generally just like, oh, he pulled on his jersey or he pulled on his hand just for half a second. That's not necessarily going to be enough, especially when the ball is, like 10 feet in the air and he has to jump 8 to try and catch it,
Well, and the other side of this argument too is the guys that are always screaming, let him play. There's too many penalties. Let him play.
Exactly.
Okay, then let him play. Then that's not going to be pass interference. You're not going to get that call if you're letting them play. So you can't have it both ways. I heard John Perry on Sirius this week, who is an ex-NFL referee.
Yeah.
And he was talking about the way that the referees are judged and graded every week. And he said, say that you have a team and they call 18 penalties through the course of a game. And they go back and review all 18 of those penalties, and they're all legitimate. Okay? That's 18 flags that were thrown legitimately during a game.
Mm-hmm.
He said, but then they'll look at you and say, but we found 3 or 4 non-calls, penalties that you should have called, which would have been 22 or 23 penalties through the course of a game. This is not the referee's fault.
No.
This is the fact that the players are committing penalties.
Exactly.
at the end of the day, that's really the culprit right there. You can't commit penalties, and then complain that they throw in too many flags. And I don't know if that's a result of the CBA and the fact that they have less practice time, and now they're not being coached as strictly as they would have been in the past. I think the number of penalties is rising. That's the impression that I get. I don't have any statistics on that. Pat does a great job of keeping track of that stuff. But it seems to me that's the case. And of course, there's always going to be 3 or 4 controversial calls. Out of the hundreds that are made every weekend, there'll be 3 or 4 controversial ones. The Chargers got killed by replay last week. Eckler scores a touchdown, and they review it, and they put it on the 1 foot line. Gordon scores a touchdown, they review it, put it back at the 1. It's just, and in my opinion anyway, in those calls, there wasn't clear evidence to override the call on the field.
Yeah.
Which is another thing. If that's the way you're going to do it, and you're going to say, okay, the call on the field takes precedent, and you need clear, positive proof in order to overturn it, I don't think they should have overturned either one of those calls. But in our instance, of course, they did. So it's the chicken and the egg type of situation here as far as these penalties are going. And people are complaining about so many penalties and so many flags, and they're stopping the game. And, then stop jumping off sides. Stop grabbing receivers past five yards. Don't hold on the line of scrimmage. Simple as that. And they don't seem to be willing to do that.
Yeah, this is an interesting graph from Pro Football Reference. The frequencies of penalties since just 2008 to last year. You can see that the penalties for the most part are staying stagnant, but there are some, like the offensive holding has gone up quite drastically, whereas false starts have come down. You can see that defensive pass interference is on a pretty steady trend. It's not going too high, not going too low. Same with the unnecessary roughness. You had a bit of a spike when they introduced some of the new rules here about quarterbacks in 2013. What's this dark bluish purple one here? Defensive offsides has come down. The defensive holding has come up, So it's just a matter of what penalty. I'm trying to find one that's more generalized, but yeah.
I see a lot of as far as offensive holding goes, you see a lot of it at the line where these guys will hook their arm around the guy's neck, as he's blowing past him.
And that's a blatant hold call, and I would accept that every time.
Except the fact that maybe their technique needs to be better. Maybe they need need more practice time. They need more coaching, and I don't know. It'll be interesting to see when the CBA comes out if that element is addressed at all, because it is. I think at this point in time, it is hurting the game that they don't have enough time in practice.
Yeah, and that's the systemic reason why we have the penalties is because of inability to practice. Well, the problem is that if you're going to limit their practice time because of safety reasons, then you're going to have these issues cropping up. But the problem is the safety reasons for the most part are legitimate. You got guys that are suffering, traumatic brain injuries and other physical injuries that are going to be debilitating later on in life. Yes, they get paid handsomely now, but not all of them are smart enough to do that.
You don't have to have full contact practices in order to teach, to coach these techniques.
No, I agree.
And maybe they increase the number of walkthrough times. Add more unpadded practices. I certainly don't want to take anything away, but you could add more time on the practice field, in shells so that you can practice your blocking techniques and that type of thing. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. And of course, anything that has to do with injuries is going to start with the Los Angeles Chargers and move from there. It's interesting because I've been thinking a lot about this, and as I said, we came into the season with such optimism and cautious optimism on my part, but optimism. And Pat and Jim went through, who are the best secondaries, the best offensive line, the best 21 personnel, the best yada yada yada. And the Chargers were in a couple of those different lists in top 5, and I totally agreed with them. And then we come up on training camp, and Russell Okung goes down with a pulmonary embolism. Melvin Gordon decides he's going to hold out. And in the middle of training camp, Derwin James goes down with a broken foot. And boom, boom, boom. Before we even can get onto the field with the first game, we're already depleted. And we're playing backups. And then I think every week somebody has gone down and ended up on IR.
Yeah.
And, it's just been devastating. And then Phillip Rivers has been playing very poorly the last couple of games. His game last week wasn't as bad, but still, you end up with a yard, first to goal on the 1. This should be a win, and they can't get it in. Same thing against Denver, first and goal on the 2, and they can't get it in. So it's just been a very disappointing season to date.
Well,
and
yeah,
I think they have an excellent chance of being 12-4 last year and 4-12 this year, because the consistency and the efficiency with which they're playing is non-existent right now.
Yeah, I can understand that. But speaking of injuries, how about the Chiefs' Patrick Mahomes?
Interesting. I wouldn't play him this week. I've seen that injury before. My daughter had it in gymnastics. She would pop it back into place and keep going.
Yeah.
Okay. Which was pretty astounding. But I don't think as a football player you should be doing that.
Yeah.
And and they've got a tough game this week. No question about that. And Matt Moore is Matt Moore. He's been in the league long enough. We all know what he is and what he can do and what he can't do. But I would be very careful with him, because he is the future. He is the now and the future. And if they're going to be, playoff bound, barring a major collapse, and if they drop a game or two while he's out, it's the way the rest of the division is playing, that's not going to be that big an issue.
Yeah, I'm just kind of scrolling through the scores from last week to see if there was any interesting outcomes. I'd say the Redskins holding the 49ers to 9 points is interesting.
That was a fun game to watch. I love that mud and rain and what have you. It was pretty caustic weather. So yeah, that was a lot of fun.
And how about those Vikings over the Lions, 42-30? Where did that game come from?
We had this discussion last week about the Vikings, and I'm finally on board. Okay, yes, the Vikings are very good. I would consider that a lot closer as we do our picks.
Yeah, no, it's just, I'm really surprised at the score. I mean, obviously teams know each other, so the offense knows the defenses, but it should work reverse as well. The defense should know the offense.
Yeah, exactly.
But
exactly.
And
the games that surprised me, Arizona is another one of those teams.
Yeah.
I've classified them in my mind as not a perennial losing team. Baltimore is still a one. How many times have we seen this? And Lamar Jackson's all the rage right now, and he's putting up these astounding numbers as a running quarterback.
He's not going to last.
We all know what happens. It's just a question of time.
Exactly.
We're just sitting here going, so where's the ACL? It's coming.
I'm waiting for
it's coming.
I'm waiting for the MCL to go.
Yeah, it's like it's just and it'll happen in a flash, just like it did to everybody else that's played quarterback that way.
Yeah.
So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. Not that I'm wishing it, but it's there, and it's going to happen.
I'd say the highlight of the Monday Night Football game was the Star Wars trailer.
Oh my goodness! I tried to re-record the game because I wanted to see the Belichick thing in the second half with running time off the clock, And they tried to explain it on the radio, and I wanted to see it because it still didn't make a lot of sense to me. Because it seems to me that all the Jets had to do was accept one of those penalties, and that whole philosophy goes out the window. Because then the clock stops.
I didn't.
So
I didn't hear about this.
Yeah. Apparently, sometime in the 9 minutes to play in the fourth quarter, the Patriots had the ball, and they had a delay of game. And whatever the situation was, the Jets declined the penalty. So they ran 45 seconds off the clock. They got a delay of game. They declined the penalty. The clock starts again. Then they go back into the huddle. Then they line up, and just before the time, the 40-second clock expires, they have a false start. Boom. Clock stops. The Jets decline the penalty. Clock starts again. They go back into the huddle. All right. So now they've run a minute and a half off the clock. And what Pat and Jim were saying is they could have had 12 men in the huddle at that point, stop the clock again, and then the Jets decline the penalty again and run another 45 seconds off. And apparently Belichick did this because he found the loophole and he wanted to, show it to the league.
Okay.
But in the process, he ran almost 3 minutes off the clock, or almost 2 minutes off the clock.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the situation was that the Jets kept declining it. They just didn't want to give them another down, or what it was. I don't know. I don't understand. So I wanted to see it, but I missed the replay.
I'll have to.
But I thought it was kind of interesting. And Ron Rivera came on and he was laughing about it. He goes, I go through this book every single day and I miss this part. And kudos to Bill Belichick for finding this loophole. So, and he thinks what's going to happen is at that point, they're going to throw a flag for unsportsmanlike conduct, because they are not operating within the intent of the rule.
Right.
So anyway, so let's get to our picks for week 8.
Yeah, we're week 8 now. Scary.
Wow. There you go.
All right.
Season can't get over fast enough for me. I'm looking forward to the draft.
Are we already starting to plan that?
Yeah, I'm getting. If we lose this week, I'll be turning the page, because we're not going anywhere. And and even if we win out, which they've done before, they've come out of nowhere and suddenly, boom, they can't be beat. They can't do anything wrong. At 10-5 might be enough for a wild card. I don't know. Although at 10-5, we will have had beaten the Chiefs twice, so that we still have a shot at the division. But that's not going to happen. These guys, they still got to play Green Bay, Kansas City twice. They got 2 games coming up against Oakland. They got to play Denver again. It's not going to happen. But anyway, so tonight, the newly crowned Minnesota Vikings versus the hapless Washington Redskins in Minnesota. As I said before, I'm on the bandwagon, so I'm taking Minnesota because I'm tired of these guys killing me. They're 6-2 right now, and I don't think I've picked them once all season long.
Now comes the question: do I take the Redskins just to spite you and watch the Redskins win tonight?
Yes, do that. That's exactly what you should do.
Well, hold on. The audience doesn't know that I actually went 11-3 this last week, whereas you went 8-6.
I thought I went 9-5.
Let me pull up. I have my list
right here. I got it right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 9-5.
I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, nope, you're right. 9-5. I'll adjust that. So 2 games. Yep, I'm 2 games up.
Yeah, so you're 3 games. I thought you were 1 game up before, so now you should be 3 games up.
Yeah, I'm just saying from last week. I'm 2 games up last week. So
yeah, definitely take the Redskins. Great bet.
Yeah, no, I'm
actually
sticking with
my Vikings. If you want, I'll go down and put a bet. I'll put money on it for you, and you can just send me the money later if you really want to do that.
I've got rent due on the first. Yeah, not going to happen. And I'm taking the Vikings as well.
All right. So Seattle crossing all the way across country to go to Atlanta. They got to be pretty pissed about last week.
Yeah.
And Atlanta just is, it can't get out of its own way.
No, because
Matt Ryan's hurt. I have not heard the status on him, but it didn't look like he was going to be ready to go to me. I would expect that we'll get Matt Schaub in this game, who I can't believe is still in the league.
I know
Wasn't he drafted like 20 years ago?
something like
Um,
that.
yeah, and I'm not. That's not even an exaggeration, you know. Um, so Seattle crosses to Atlanta. What are your thoughts on this game?
Well, obviously, I know the Seahawks are pissed. I know that the fans are pissed. It's a 10 a.m. game. Again, I don't put a whole lot of stock into this, but it's it has been something in the past that has kind of been true with the Seahawks. If they go east and play 10, they generally lose. However, in the Russell Wilson era, we have been 29-7 in the games following a loss in his career. So I'm going to go with the Seahawks on this one.
I'm going to go with the Seahawks because they're just going to kick the crap out of the Falcons. The Falcons are just they're dead in the water right now.
Are the Falcons going to try and start a fight like they did against the Rams?
You know what? That's a perfect example of how frustrated they have to be, and when you get to be that frustrated, you're tripping over your own feet. So I don't know what's going on in Atlanta. They should be a better team than they are, but you can say that about so many different teams around the league.
And one last thing is we picked up a safety this week from the Lions.
Oh, that's right. There were a lot of trades in the beginning of the week. And that was the bizarre one to me.
Yeah, that one I didn't see coming at all.
Why would the Lions trade their defensive captain in the middle of a potential playoff run?
I know.
That was the shocking. That was the one that I kind of did a double take on. What was that? But with all the different trades and stuff, of course, the Chargers made none. They picked up a defensive tackle named Sylvester Williams, who 7 years ago was a first-round pick for the Broncos and has been bouncing around the league since. So our problems are over. Yeah, but that'll be interesting to see how he fits in.
Yeah. Let's see here.
So I got Buffalo and Philadelphia next.
Yep, that's who I've got as well. And
here's another team in Philadelphia that is, again, lacking consistency. And it's like this has been so weird for me. I mean, 4 weeks ago, I thought there was hardly any parity in the league. Really good teams, really bad teams. Now it's like everybody's in the middle, and you got the 49ers and the Patriots on the both ends, with a couple other teams. The Saints and the Bills and what have you, record wise. But there are so many teams now in the middle that are 2-5, 3-4, 4-3. It's really hard to figure out which team's going to be where, when they show up. So Philadelphia is traveling up to Buffalo. Yep. I like Buffalo. I think Buffalo's playing really well right now. Josh Allen has this team. I think he's a really good mix between the running quarterback and the passing quarterback. He's playing real efficiently, and he's not Lamar Jackson. He doesn't run as much, and he seems to pick and choose his spots better when he moves. So I'm going to take Buffalo over the stumbling Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, the NFL's point on this game is Bills are 7-2 in their last 9 games, dating back to 2018. So it's hard to pick against the Bills when they're 5-1.
Yeah,
playing at home
and playing at home.
But I'm going to go out on a limb here and go with the Eagles.
Good choice.
I just have. They're not playing as horrible as, say, Atlanta. They're not playing as horrible as other teams. They're not even playing as bad as the Chargers or the Bears are as far as overall.
That's very true.
They're just not executing as well as they could be. I think that they're going to have a shot in this game. I'm not going with this as like a lock pick or anything like that. What's the point spread on this game, anyways? I thought this was one of those big ones. Oh no, it's only at 1.5. Bills favored.
Yeah, and on the the Yahoo page that I'm on, it tells you who's picking who and percentage wise. And Buffalo's 70% of the people are picking Buffalo, 30% are picking Philadelphia.
Yeah, and that's expected. So I'll be part of the minority on this one.
All right.
Next up, speaking of the Chargers and the Bears.
Well, you know where I'm going with this because I always do. I'll slip my wrist and take the Chargers again because I always take the Chargers. I mean, I guess I could come up with a legitimate reason for that and tell you all about how, they're going to concentrate more offensively on Austin Eckler, and Melvin Gordon will be regulated to more of a backup role. We're getting Russell Okung back, so that's going to help solidify the left side of the offensive line. The good thing about Okung coming back is if he comes back and starts playing consistently at left tackle, we can take Trevor Scott and move him to right tackle and plug that hole that is Sam Tevy on the right side. That's going to help us a lot. But, Pouncey's on IR with what I understand could be a career-ending injury with his neck.
Yeah.
Forrest Lamp broke his leg last week. He's now on IR. So we've got a backup center, a backup left guard, a backup left tackle playing right now. If Okung comes back, we can shuffle that around a little bit. But I have no idea what they're going to do. They're going to show up. They're going to play really well. And if they stay true to form, they'll drop down by 3 scores and then fight their way back and lose by 1 score. So there you go. Yeah. So, but I'm taking the Chargers.
Well, the NFL's line on this is the Chargers are 9-3 away from home since their 8 games last year in 2018, including the London game.
Yep, and the only game they've won on the road this year is Miami.
Yep, which is why I'm picking the Bears.
Okay.
The Chargers have let me down too much this year.
Yeah, they let everyone down.
So
I got a buddy he always texts me like Saturday, okay, I took the Chargers in the 3. I'm like, why don't you ask me before you do that?
All right.
All right. We got the Giants and Detroit Lions, another team that you don't know who's going to show up.
On either side.
Yeah, and the Detroit Lions just, of course, traded their defensive captain to the Seahawks. And from what I understand, the locker room is not happy about that. They are playing in Detroit, which is a considerable home field advantage. The Giants are, just like you just said, have let me down so much this year. I keep expecting them to be better than they are. And they keep going up and tripping over their own feet. Losing to Arizona last week at home was, crazy. And so I think I'll go with the Lions in this one at home.
Lions in this one. Yeah, I'm actually going to be right there with you. However, just as a side note, both teams are on a 3-game losing streak. So somebody's got to snap it, hopefully.
Yeah.
unless the Lions want to go 2-3-2.
Well, if anyone can do it, they can. So, all right. Tampa Bay and Tennessee. In Tennessee. As I said last week, Ryan Tannehill came in, threw for over 300 yards, had a really high quarterback rating, and played really well against the Chargers. And I know I am the only Ryan Tannehill fan in the world, apparently. I do think he's a very efficient quarterback when he's healthy. But I'm going to take Tampa Bay in this game. Really? I don't know why. I've got a feeling about this game that gives Tampa Bay a chance to come in here and pull an upset. And they're due to pull an upset. Winston is that hot and cold quarterback. He's been cold the last couple of weeks. I expect him to come in and have a pretty strong day this weekend.
Yeah. Well, I had actually penciled you in for the Titans there. I was typing that in as you were talking, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm taking the Bucks because they're going to upset. They're really good at doing upsets, especially on the road.
Yeah, it's just you get a feeling for the ebb and flow of the season, and this is when it's as unclear and muddy as it's been all season so long. This is one of those teams that they're due, you know. So that's the way I feel about it. Okay, Indianapolis, the hot Indianapolis Colts facing the Denver Broncos. Now, before we get into this, if you guys were listening to Jim and Pat yesterday, I feel compelled as the winner of the Fresno Frazier Award last January in Mobile at the Senior Bowl to step up and defend my buddy here. Fresno called into the show and said, I'm wondering how long Denver's going to put up with John Elway. When is this honeymoon going to be over? And coincidentally, I had the exact same thought yesterday morning. I was just like looking at this going, for a guy as brilliant as John Elway, he seems to have a lot of trouble picking coaches and picking quarterbacks. He took the job. He got Kubiak, his buddy Kubiak to come in. He rolled the dice on can Peyton Manning play again, won that bet, had 2 Super Bowl appearances and 1 Super Bowl win. And then Kubiak gets sick and leaves. Peyton retires. Since that point, John Elway's record is very, very suspect. And Jim and Pat misinterpreted what his question was and went into this diatribe about how Kansas City hasn't had any more success picking quarterbacks than Denver has. And they listed this long litany of all of the guys that have played quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. The thing they failed to mention is that for every failure in those draft picks, somebody lost their job. How many GMs has Kansas City gone through in the last 15 years?
Oh yeah,
I think they have 4. And
4 or 5, yeah.
Yeah, that's the point that they were missing. Fresno was saying John Elway over the last couple of years has not had a good track record with quarterbacks. He didn't even mention coaches, but his coaching choices have been abysmal. And I had the very same thought yesterday of how long does John Elway get to stay in Denver making the choices that he makes? Pat said until this new ownership, and I suppose that's very true. I see a lot of similarity between Jerry Jones and John Elway. Like Jerry's not going to fire himself, and no one's going to fire John Elway. So he's there, and he keeps trying, but he's making some really bad choices in terms of quarterbacks and coaches. Fangio, I think, has the Wade Phillips disease. He's a great coordinator, absolutely brilliant coordinator, not a head coach.
Yeah.
And if you've heard him interviewed, he's on every week on the Blitz. He just doesn't sound like a head coach. You listen to Ron Rivera or Pete Carroll or Bill O'Brien be interviewed, and they've got a grasp on their job, and they've got a hold on what's happening in the league and with their team. You listen to Fangio, and he's stumbling, trying to figure out what to say and answer some of these questions. It's just not head coach material to me. I hear the same thing out of Brian Flores and the same thing out of Zach Taylor. It's great these guys are getting a shot, but I think it's the wrong one.
Yeah.
Who was the coach? Who was the Denver coach last year? I can't remember. I keep saying Steve Wilkes, but that was in Arizona.
Oh no, that was God, what was his name?
Because I remember when we fired Mike McCoy for the Chargers, Elway was starting to talk to this guy, and I'm thinking, oh, quick, get in there first and talk to this guy. Get him in here. And we never did, and we brought in Anthony Lynn instead. And I think Anthony Lynn is a fabulous coach. He's having troubles right now, but he's a fabulous coach, and so much happier that we didn't, look at the other guy whose name we can't remember now that was in Denver. But Elway has not been making good choices, and that was what Fresno was trying. Yes, Vance Joseph. And that's the point that Fresno was trying to make, and the guys missed it, and they just totally distorted it. So Fresno, I'm right with you all the way. I don't know how long he's going to be there, but I also don't know who's going to fire him.
Yeah.
So anyway, Denver going to Indianapolis. As I said, the hot Colts. I'm obviously going to take Indianapolis in this game. If there's a team that's more disjointed and aimless than the Chargers, I think it's the Broncos.
Yeah.
Flacco has you look at his face, and it's almost like, is this game over yet? I got a brunch to go to.
That's the thing is
And
I saw a story on NFL.com before I switched to looking into the Patriots, talking about how Elway says that the rookie is not ready yet, and now I can't find that story headline.
yeah, no, and who knows what this kid's going to be like. I mean, he in a weak quarterback class, he dropped to the second round, and he was the only one left when Elway took him. And who else was available last year? Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, and
He
he
was
was what?
available.
And
He went in
where
the
was he
sixth round.
drafted? Sixth
He
round,
was in
yeah.
the sixth round. Yeah, something about that sixth round in quarterbacks. I don't know. Um,
Well, don't anoint him just yet.
yeah, no, but still,
I mean,
uh,
you can't deny what he's doing there, but yeah,
yeah, and you don't know how good Drew Lock is going to be. We haven't seen him play, so
there we
there's
go.
still a lot to go in that direction. Same thing in Washington. Haskins obviously isn't ready to play yet either. So, and I don't know. Do you put him in too early or too late?
Yeah, he's saying Lockett remains on the IR with a thumb injury on his throwing hand, so
Oh, well, that helps too.
that that
Okay.
that helps defend everything.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, I'm taking the Colts.
Yeah, I'm going with the Colts too. Don't get me wrong. I think the Broncos could do it. I don't know the locker room dynamic, so I don't know if Sanders' move was because he's bringing down the thing, or if he just like, look, I just need out of here, and the trade just happened to be available. Who knows what it's going who
Yeah.
knows what it's going to be like, or what the reasons were. But I'm glad to see him get a or what is this, third chance now. Just not happy that it's in the NFC West. But like I said, I'm taking the Colts too. It's just one of those. Yeah, it's just one of those games, and we skipped a couple on my list here. Where did we leave off? Oh yeah, the Raiders and the Texans.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that the Texans have got to be pretty disappointed the way they played last week against Indianapolis.
Yeah,
Uh, they've got a lot going for them. I think I consider them one of the better teams in the league. And, they had a setback last week. I expect them to bounce back from that. The Raiders were decimated last week, weren't they?
yeah. Let me pull up the score here. I got a tab for
Yeah,
that.
I'm pretty sure. And
42-24. So they were almost doubled.
yeah, they're still a ways away, and they've had some been lucky enough to win a couple of games this year that I didn't think they would, but I don't think they'll win this one, particularly on the road. So I will take the Houston Texans.
I will too. Houston is one of those teams that you know what you're getting, but do they know what they're going to give us? That type of thing. Because they are on paper they are one of the better teams in the NFC or
Mm-hmm.
AFC as well as the NFL as a whole. I mean, heck, there's 6.5 point favorites at home this week. A touchdown favorite this week. They should win it. But then again, they're also tied for first in the NFL for most games decided by 1 point you know or one possession games. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's
Yeah, and on my
and it's at
Yahoo
home.
thing here, 92% of people have picked Houston over the Raiders at 8%. So
Yeah,
there you go. All right, I got the Rams and Cincinnati next.
in London at Wembley.
Um, as Brady Quinn says, who left first? Uh, I'm totally on board with that, by the way.
Yeah,
You go into London, whichever team leaves first is going to win. It's simple as that. And except in this case, I see no way that the Cincinnati Bengals beat the Rams. Just the Rams could take the red eye and show up and play, and I can't see Cincinnati winning. I've said this a couple weeks ago, and I'll say it again. I think we're on the verge of having two winless teams this season
yeah.
because they are both just so inept, and it's crazy. It's just crazy how bad they're playing. And Miami at least has shipped off all their players. Cincinnati, in the offseason lost a lot on defense. They had some other issues, but they just can't. And they draft a tackle, and the guy goes on IR before the training camp even starts. Um, I I feel badly for them, but at the same time, you just can't do anything but pick against them because they just have no opportunity to win as far as I can see. Matter
Yeah.
of fact, yeah, on my Yahoo thing, 99% of all people have picked the Rams over 1% for Cincinnati. So
And those are guys like Cincy Dave, I bet.
yeah, exactly.
No offense,
Who's been
Cincy
pretty
Dave.
damn quiet lately. I haven't heard him on the radio since like week 2.
I haven't heard him on the radio at all this season. So yeah. Um, I'm also going with the Rams. I mean, until the Bengals one win a game, and two win a game decisively, I'm not going to pick them.
Oh, just win a game.
That's
I
my
mean,
exactly.
have the ball, have a field goal, bounce off the crossbar and fall over. That kind of win.
You joke about that. The Seahawks had that happen a couple weeks ago.
No, I'm not kidding. I know. It's just like hit the crossbar and fall back instead of bouncing out. All right, I've got New Orleans and Arizona. In New Orleans with the supposed return of Drew Brees.
Yeah, I'm not going to buy that until I see it on the actual field. But at the same time, I'm going to pick the Saints. I'm picking the Saints just because of how hot they are. And don't get me wrong, what the Cardinals are doing, to teams is crazy. I will not be surprised if the Cardinals later in the season come into Seattle and win.
Yeah, they're playing much better.
They're playing so much better than when they played us, and I think our game was the turning point for them.
Yeah,
they realized that they could have actually won that game, and didn't.
Yep, and Kyler Murray is again. He's really fast, and he's agile, and he runs really well, and he's going to get killed eventually. So that's. He's right there with Lamar Jackson and a knee injury waiting to happen. Yeah. So he's got to learn to stay back in the pocket, move around in the pocket, and make your throws. I think he's a much better passer than Lamar Jackson is, although Jackson has gotten a ton better. Yeah. I'm very impressed with him because I had no faith in him at all as the season started. But yeah, Arizona is turning out to be a much better team than I thought they were going to be. So kudos to them. But regardless of if Drew Brees plays or not, I'm still taking the Saints.
I have a feeling that you were.
And how much money is Teddy Bridgewater making right now?
Oh, I think he's tacked on another 10 or 12 million to a contract.
He's going to get a $35 million a year deal. There's no question about it. And since he left Minnesota, I have been screaming for the Chargers to sign him as the backup heir apparent to Phillip Rivers.
Yeah.
I would love to see him come to the Chargers. And you never know Phil doesn't have a contract after this season, and they're not going to even address it till the end of the year to see how he feels.
Yeah.
Does he want to come back and play, next year in the half-empty stadium in LA, or does he just want to, take his $150 million and raise his 45 kids? We've got no indication on what his feeling is. I tend to think he was going to come back. And if the season continues like this, if for no other reason than to get the taste of this season out of his mouth, but we'll see down the line. But I think Teddy Bridgewater has been playing again, one of these quarterbacks, these backup guys that have come in and really done a great job, for their team. So I'm going to take New Orleans in this game.
Yep, I am too. So the last morning game that I have is the Jets at the Jaguars.
Speaking of backup quarterbacks, Nick Foles apparently has been practicing.
Yes.
He's not going to play this week, I don't believe. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. I'm kind of pulling for Gardner Minshew. I love that kind of story.
Yeah.
I think it would be a great deal to, be a 6th round pick and almost not make the team and then come in and start, setting rookie records and things like that. His win-loss record isn't that great. I mean but that's, I think, I look at that more as a team issue than the quarterback issue. His presence in the pocket is solid and confident. He doesn't get rushed. He's not, he doesn't have jittery feet. He surveys the field. He goes through his reads, and his accuracy is terrific. So I'm sure that when Foles is healthy, he'll come back in. They have no choice. I mean, the guy's making what, $80 million in 2 years or something
like that.
3 years. Yeah, they've got to play him. And when he comes in and he starts being Nick Foles, the starter, and stumbling and throwing interceptions and missing open receivers, there's going to be quite the controversy in Jacksonville, I think. However, for this week, what is up with the Jets? How do you go to Dallas and beat the Cowboys in Texas and then turn around and you lose your toenail against the Patriots? I mean,
to be fair, it is the Patriots.
Yes, but still.
And Bill Belichick knows just about every coach's tendencies in the league, whether they're actually in the league now or not and have never been.
It was just such an embarrassment. And, I can't pick the Jets because who knows what's going to happen. And Jacksonville is a stronger, more efficient team. So I'm going to take the Jaguars and watch. The Jets will go in and put up 50. And
yeah, because they're mad about losing that way on Monday night at home. Yeah, but I have to be right there with you on this one. It's got to be the Jags going to win this one.
It's like
Fournette is averaging 134 yards per game since week 4.
Yeah,
I mean the Jets are going to have a hard time stopping that. I mean, Sony Michel had what, like 3 ground touchdowns, I think, running touchdowns.
I lost count.
Well, I had him on my fantasy team, and he actually saved my game. So,
and when they hired Adam Gase, we all thought it was the weirdest choice. I mean, he just gets fired from Miami, a division foe, and then you turn around and bring him in. And I'm sure they were thinking in terms of his relationship with quarterbacks and his experience bringing quarterbacks along.
Yeah.
But it was just a weird choice. And it's not, I don't see this team being pulled together, and I don't see anything constructive happening with it yet. And granted, they lost Darnold for 3 games to the illness. But still, and he's only played, I think Darnold's only played 18, 19 games in the league so far. So he's a long way from, being able to qualify him as a bust or efficient quarterback. But boy, hot and cold, that game against Dallas, he was just so efficient and confident. And the game against the Patriots, he was, as he said, he was seeing ghosts.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the mystique of the Patriots. Maybe that the Tom Brady's too big for him. I mean, I heard the thing. He was 3 years old when Brady won his first Super Bowl.
Yeah. So, yeah, because he's 22. He played 13 games last year, 3 games so far this year.
Yeah, so 16, and that's halfway to the number of games you have to play before you get a real sense of who he is.
Yeah.
So anyway, I've got Jacksonville. All right, the game of the week coming up in San Francisco as the Carolina Panthers invade the Bay Area to face the undefeated San Francisco 49ers. Wow.
How do I want to put this game? This is the one team I can see the 49ers losing to during the season. The Panthers have always played the NFC West tough. Always. They have a 6-game winning streak against the 49ers. Now that could easily snap this week as well. So, but I just don't know where to go on this one. I want to instinctually I want to root for the Panthers because they're going against the 49ers, but at the same time it's like the 49ers could win this game as well. Which one do I pick?
Well, Kyle Allen, I think is the story of the league right now. At his pro day, only one coach from any team showed up, and that was one of the coaches from Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
And that's why they brought him in as a UFA. And he has done absolutely everything he's supposed to do. He's undefeated, 5-0 as a starter. He's got that team playing well. He's got, McCaffrey behind him, which is such a godsend to any quarterback.
Yeah.
Playing so well. And so, I've heard him mentioned in the MVP conversation. He's, the backbone of that team. And Kyle Allen is just playing so well. They're coming off a bye, traveling across country, okay, but going east to west, which never seems to be the same deal as west to east. But they're going up against what I think is one of the strongest front sevens in the league right now in San Francisco's defense. Those 5 first-rounders are really stepping up and playing really, really well. Garoppolo is equally as efficient as a quarterback. He's 14-2 as a starter in his career.
Yeah.
And, you go 3-0, 4-0, that could be a fluke. 14-2 is not a fluke.
No, it's not.
That's a pretty impressive stat. I think they're playing at home in San Francisco. As much as my daughter's boyfriend will hate me for this, I am going to take the San Francisco 49ers.
Well, I have the 49ers as a 5.5 point favorite at home. This one's just
I know. Well, if it helps you any, 88% of all Yahoo people have picked the 49ers over Carolina.
Yeah, that doesn't help, actually. I hate to do it, but I'm actually going to go with the 49ers as well. It's just, like I said, this could be the one where they actually do lose.
Yeah. I'm surprised it's 5.5 points.
You know what? No, I'm going to change that. I am actually going to go with the Panthers. I got to trust my gut on this one.
There you go.
I got to trust my gut on this one. So, all right, we already covered.
We got New England and Cleveland.
Yeah.
Who's going to pick against the Patriots?
Let's
just start from that point of view. And I also will take the Patriots. However, something about this game, you get feelings about the way things are working. And New England never seems to have a down game. There's no such thing as a trap game in the Patriot world.
The closest thing is Miami.
Yeah, exactly. They probably haven't lost at home in 3 seasons. But there's something about this Cleveland team right now with the controversy. It's been a lot of yakking and stuff all week long, and I wouldn't be surprised. What's the point spread on this?
The point spread on this one that I have is 13. New England favorite at home, 13.
Yeah. And 98% of Yahoo participants are taking the Patriots. As will I. I'm taking the Patriots, but
I understand where you come from.
I just
this is the closest thing to a trap game that you could have with.
Yeah, and I don't see the Patriots going undefeated.
Well,
and granted, they've got other games that are going to be much more challenging coming up. I just can see this happening, and it would be astounding if it did.
Here's something that might, if the Browns do win this will be a great feather in their cap for this season. Bill Belichick is seeking his 300th career win, including the playoffs.
Right, and his first career win was with Cleveland.
Exactly. Imagine if they were to deny him his 300th career win by 1 week.
Yeah,
and make the Patriots no longer undefeated.
So it'll be a fun game to watch.
Yeah, it will be.
What do we got? Got next is Sunday night. Green Bay and Kansas City at Kansas City. With or without Patrick Mahomes, nobody knows for sure.
Aaron Rodgers is 3-0 versus Andy Reid, including the playoffs. So
Aaron Rodgers had a perfect quarterback rating last week. He's playing probably more consistent than any other quarterback in the league right now. I got to go
now
with
that
Green
Russell's throwing his pick, yeah.
Yeah, I gotta go with Green Bay in this game, simply because of the Mahomes factor. If Mahomes was playing and they were in Kansas, at home, maybe, but and even if Mahomes plays, he's not going to be full speed. He's not going to be able to do all that running around and throwing, backwards and with his left hand and spitting the ball downfield. So I'm going to take the Packers in this game.
Yeah, I'm taking the Packers as well. Back when I was younger, I used to root for the Packers before Brett Favre got there, because I had the Seahawks in the AFC, and I'm like, well, I'll pick an NFC team too, because what are the odds these two are ever going to play each other? Because at the time, both teams sucked.
Yeah, I remember those days.
And then the Seahawks went back into the NFC West, so I'm like, oh, I guess I'm just going to stay a Seahawks fan. I think Kansas City's defense could limit Aaron Rodgers. It's just, can Matt Moore actually compete with Aaron? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
Go toe for toe.
We've seen Matt Moore play for many years. We know who he is.
Exactly.
He'll run the game, but he's nobody that's going to come off and beat somebody like the Packers. And defensively, Kansas City is still so suspect. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see them drop this game in Arrowhead.
Yep. Well, on the bright side for the Shermer family, Kyle is the backup quarterback for this week.
Did you hear what Pat Shermer said? They asked him about it in an interview, and he said, "Oh, so he's on the roster now? Well, good. Maybe he'll stop using my Uber account." So, yeah, I know that was pretty funny. All right, final game is Pittsburgh. They don't have an opponent this week. They're just going to go and get the win. So,
14-point favorites. So,
yeah, over the Dolphins, in Pittsburgh.
So,
I think Rudolph is back. So, and yeah, the Dolphins aren't going to win this game.
Yeah,
that's all there is to it. As suspect as Pittsburgh can be, except when they're playing the Chargers and then they become the Super Bowl champs. Yeah, I just don't see how the Dolphins can win this game at all. Now, that being said, Fitzpatrick, as streaky as he is, I can see him pulling a game out some point in time during the season. Had he played the Redskins, maybe they would have won that game. But this whole franchise is in such disarray, and I don't understand the philosophy of trading away all your good players to get draft picks that you're only going to have to use to replace the guys you traded away. You got Larry Tunsil. All right, one of the better offensive linemen in the league, and offensive linemen are at a premium right now. And you trade him away for, him and Kenny Stills, you trade away for, a number one. I think they got 2 ones, as a matter of fact. So great. So next year you'll be able to draft another left tackle. Well, you already had one. When you keep that guy and draft another area of need. So it's going to be interesting to see what they try to do next season, as far next offseason, as far as rebuilding this team. Because they'll have, I don't know how many picks they have now, but the other thing I wanted to say is that this philosophy of trading away your number ones, the Rams don't have a number one pick for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
So the guys they have now better be sticking around because they have no way of replacing them. The Texans don't have a first rounder for the next 2 years. We went through this years and years ago with Bobby Beathard in San Diego. And I think 10 years we didn't have a first round pick. He kept trading them away to draft guys in the second round. and thinking, well, we're going to win next year, so this pick's going to be really low, so it's not going to be that valuable. And of course, we never did. So we're trading away, numbers 4, 5, 6 overall, and and suffering in the meantime because we have no way of getting quality players in. So I think the long term, this is a really bad philosophy, in my opinion. That being said, has nothing to do with Pittsburgh and Miami. But I'll bring that back around right now. And as I said, I don't see a way Miami wins this game. So I'm going to take the Steelers.
Yep, I've got the Steelers as well, and I quickly went to the NFL.com/draft/home to check to see if they've got any, started doing their run up to the draft for the next season, and they haven't yet. However, they did announce the 2021 and 2023 draft sites.
Oh, really?
2021 is going to be in Cleveland, and 2023 is going to be in Kansas City.
So, nice. And 2020 is in Las Vegas. So
you're going to go to one?
You better believe it. As a matter of fact, with the background that I have in production and in theater, I've been trying to find out who is in charge of the draft because I'd love to work it. So that's my next project coming up, is see if I can figure out, get that information. I've called the league office a couple times and I'm not getting any response. So if anybody knows, anybody that's connected with the upcoming NFL draft, please let me know.
Ask Gil.
Yeah, there you go. I didn't even think of that.
I'm like, the man is the draft god around.
I know. What the hell was I thinking? All right.
So, yeah. One trade we didn't get to talk a whole lot about this week was the Emmanuel Sanders trade. Just brief rundown is the 49ers are sending a 3rd and a 4th round and getting a 5th round back with Sanders for that. What did we trade away? I didn't even look. So
it was a draft pick. I think it was a 3rd.
No, it was exchanged for a 5th.
5th. Oh,
and we get a 7th round back in 2021.
That's even more astounding. What's Detroit thinking? Why do they dump that guy for a 5th?
I know.
The one that was everyone thought was outrageous was Mohamed Sanu to the Patriots for a 2nd. But of course, as soon as they make that trade, they put Josh Gordon on IR with the intent of waiving him. So they had a hole and they needed to fill it. And of course, Belichick went out and did that. And before you know it, he's going to have another 2nd coming back for something else. So,
probably another offensive lineman or something.
Yeah, he manipulates that brilliantly, and he stockpiles picks, years in advance. So it was not a big deal to me that they traded for a 2nd. And Sanu's going to fit right in there. And imagine being Mohamed Sanu. Yeah. Here I am dying in Atlanta on a 1-6 team or whatever they are.
Yeah.
And suddenly you wake up and find out now you're on the undefeated New England Patriots, heading to another Super Bowl, and chances, and you've got an excellent chance of finally getting a ring.
Yep.
Good for him. Congratulations.
So he finds out he's getting traded after going 1 catch for 2 targets for 3 yards against the Rams.
Yeah, and now I bet he scores this week.
And here's his tweet. Here's his tweet after the trade announcement. I appreciate everything the organization has done for my family and I, Mr. Blank, TD, Thomas Dimitrov, Coach Q, and everyone through the organization. I'm forever grateful for the opportunity. To my teammates and fans, you all know how I feel about y'all. Love y'all to death. #thank you. That is a classy way of dealing with a situation like this.
Absolutely. And he'll be very successful there. Brady will take good care of him, and he will be, like I said, I won't be surprised if he scores this weekend because, they'll set it up that way. So anyway, there we go. That's week number 8.
And by the way, if you are trying to get a bet in last minute for Minnesota versus Washington, they're 16.5-point favorites.
You could bet the money line. I bet that's a pretty good bet. As a matter of fact, hold on. I'll tell you exactly what it is.
Oh.
Pro football. The Vikings and the Redskins. 16.5 points. 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 16.5 points You would have to bet $100 on the Redskins on the money line at plus 800. So you bet 100, you win 800.
Wow.
Okay. Now, if you want to bet the money line of the Vikings, they're minus 1400. So you bet 1400 to win 100.
That sucks.
And it is 16 and a half points, over under 14 and a half. So if the Redskins ever pulled this game out, you could make some money by betting on the Redskins, but on the money line, I won't be doing it.
Nope, I'm not that
Somebody
foolish.
else might. So there you go. Okay, my friend.
All right,
Thank
everybody.
you so for another week of lively conversation, and good luck to everybody this weekend.
Yeah, I lost 2 hours last week in editing, which is why the podcast didn't go up on the YouTube channel until Friday morning. So I don't have that this week. I can actually get that done, hopefully.
Excellent.
Everybody down below, leave me comments on how my audio sounded. I'm trying out a fairly new mic. I've had it for a few months now. But every podcast, everything that I do, I'm testing out and asking people for their feedback. So let me know in the comments section, everybody. Have a great week.